completing the square, this is probably my favorite method for solving quadratic equations, and I like it because there's a visual that goes with it. So let me talk you through the visual, and then that'll kind of show us why this process makes sense. So if you look at if you first look at our equation, we're focusing on these first two terms, right? X squared plus 12x, right? And to really highlight that focus, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by moving this constant. So I'm going to subtract 20 from both sides, and then we'll rewrite this as x squared plus 12x. Now I'm going to leave a space here because I'm going to add a number there, equals, and 0 minus 20 is negative 20, and then I'm going to have to add that number on this side, so I'm going to leave that blank as well. Okay. Now, the visual, so the thing I have highlighted in blue right now, x squared plus 12x. If we think about representing that with algebra tiles, and you can see I have those drawn out below. So what we have is we have 1x squared. So we have this block right here, and you'll see that that has an area of x squared because each side is represented by x. And then we have 12 of these green rectangles there, and those have an area of x because the longer side is the same length as the side of the square, and then we say that the shorter side is just 1. Okay. So what I want to do is arrange these tiles into a square shape. So I'm going to take half of these 12, take the first 6, and I'm going to put them up here like that. Then I'm going to take my other half, and I'm going to rotate it, and then I'm going to slide it here. Okay. So I have the makings of a square. Now the question is, and this is the number I'm going to add on both sides of my equation, is how many little blocks would I have to draw to complete this square? All right. Now, I'm not going to draw all of them because you can see that I'm going to have 6 columns and 6 rows, and we know 6 times 6 is 36. Okay. So to complete this square, I need to add 36 to that side of the equation. Now I'm also going to have to add 36 to the right side to keep it equal. Okay. Now, how does this help us solve anything? Well, if I rewrite what we have here, x squared plus 12x plus 36 equals, and negative 20 plus 36 is 16. Well, now the left side is a perfect square, which means we can rewrite it in a form that's much easier to solve. Okay. So what we're going to rewrite it as is the square we have right now we're representing the area. So we have 1x squared, we have 12 x's, and then we have 36 of these unit squares. So another way to talk about the area of the square is to multiply the length of the sides, or just square the sides. So these sides, we said this side was x of that reddish box, and then each of these is 1. Since there are 6 of them, this side length, right, this side length right here is x plus 6. And since it's a square, this side length is also x plus 6. So let's rewrite it. X plus 6 times x plus 6 equals 16. And really, we don't even have to do that step because we know it's a square. So I'm going to write x plus 6 squared equals 16. Now, this equation is much easier to solve because, right, to undo my squared, I take the square root. I take it on both sides. So on the left side, I'm left with just x plus 6 equals square root of 16. Now, when we're completing the square, we need to have plus or minus there. So when we take the square root of something, it could be the positive square root or the negative square root. Okay. And now we're almost done getting x by itself. So we have to subtract 6 on both sides. This is 0. So we get x equals. Now, the negative 6 I'm going to put in front of the plus or minus, square root of 16. And because I chose an easier one that's going to work out nicely for us, we know the square root of 16 is 4. So this is, I can separate this and find my two answers, negative 6 plus 4, or negative 6 minus 4, which means our answers would be negative 2 and negative 10. Okay. So that is a completing the square example using a simpler example, one that has whole number real answers. Okay. Let's look at B here. All right, so I'm going to start it from the beginning. x squared minus 4x plus 2. All right, I'm going to first draw out the square, and I think this is helpful until we get the hang of it. So x squared minus 4x. So we've got our x squared, and then I have 4 of these x bars. So if I have 4 and I'm making a square, I'm going to put 2 on both sides. Let me change the color. All right. So there's 1 and 2, 1 and 2. Now, the picture here, that's a really bad square, a rectangle. All right, we have a negative here. So the picture can still help us. We just got to remember that when we talk about the sides in this case, it's going to be x minus 2 and x minus 2. Okay? But you can see that to complete the square, I'm going to need 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to have to add 4 to both sides. Okay? So that's the number I need to complete the square. Now I got a little ahead of myself. So let's subtract the 2 first. So we'll minus 2 on both sides. So we get x squared minus 4x equals negative 2. All right. And I left my blank because I know I have to add 4 and add 4. Right. Now the left side is x minus 2 squared based on the size of our square. And then the right side, this is just going to be 2. Now I can finish it by taking the square root of both sides, which gives me x minus 2 equals plus or minus the square root of 2. And then we have to add 2 on both sides. So we get x equals 2 plus or minus the square root of 2. And because 2 is not a perfect square, we leave it in the exact form, and we can leave our answer just like this. Okay? So that is completing the square. Go ahead and on your own, on your paper, try number 2.